Adrian N. Breitfelder, City Clerk, you are hereby directed to call a regular session of the City Council to be held on Monday, April 1st, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. in the historic Federal Building for the purpose of conducting such business that may properly come before the City Council.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to a regular session of the Dubuque City Council for April 1st, 2024. As a reminder to our participants, you can provide in-person input or virtual audio and written input during the sections of the agenda where public input is accepted. Input options during the live meeting include: in-person attendees may approach the podium when the mayor asks if there is any public input on the item they would like to speak to. Remote attendees can log in to GoToMeeting using the login links, phone numbers, and access code that appear on the broadcast and live stream and posted on the front page of the meeting agenda. This option includes audio input and written chat input. If you are participating via computer, indicate which item you would like to speak to in the chat function or note that you would like to speak during the appropriate section. If you are participating via phone, indicate which item you would like to speak to during the appropriate section. All comments, whether in person or virtual, must be accompanied by a name and address. Additionally, written public input is accepted by contacting the City Council directly from the city's webpage at www.cityofdubuque.org/councilcontacts and through the City Clerk's office email at ctyclerk@cityofdubuque.org. This information will be reiterated during the meeting. Attendance for the session is as follows: Mayor Kavanaugh.
Here.
Council members Farber.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Resnick.
Here.
Roussel.
Here.
Sprank.
Here.
Wethel. Looks like someone's trying to join us virtually. Let's mute them. Okay. City Manager Van Milligan.
Here.
And City Attorney Brumwell.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Kavanaugh, I will turn over to you for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Adrian. I invite all who are able to please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move on to proclamations. Our first proclamation is Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Okay, and I have on here that Macy Curry and Mason Freeman were to join us tonight to accept this proclamation. Seeing them not in the room, I will accept this proclamation on their behalf for the evening. First proclamation, City of Dubuque proclamation. Whereas sexual assault affects women, children, and men of all racial, cultural, and economic backgrounds. And whereas, in addition to the immediate physical and emotional costs, sexual assault may also have associated consequences of post-traumatic stress disorder, substance abuse, depression, homelessness, eating disorders, and suicide. And whereas sexual assault can be devastating, not only to the survivor, but also for the family, friends, and community of the survivor. And whereas, since no one person, organization, agency, or community can eliminate sexual assault on their own, we must work together to educate our entire population about what can be done to prevent sexual assault, support survivors and their significant others, and support those agencies providing services to survivors. Now therefore, I, Brad M. Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council staff and residents of Dubuque, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the City of Dubuque, Iowa, and encourage all residents to learn more about preventing sexual violence. All right, Adrian, we can move along.
Our second proclamation is Community Development Week.
Okay, and I believe we have, sorry, I lost track here. Oh, it's Mary Bridget Corken-Deutsch. Come on up. I see you in the room. Familiar face from last week.
Hello again. Thanks for having me. Mary Bridget Corken-Deutsch. I am the Community Development Specialist, and I wanted to take a minute to thank the council tonight for helping us celebrate CDBG Week. It's a great opportunity for our community to really highlight not only our community partners that receive CDBG funds, but also recognize the programs and projects that also take advantage of those CDBG dollars in our community. So again, just want to thank you guys for your support of our entire CDBG program, but also the work you do to help make those projects come to life for residents in our community.
Well, and same to you, Mary Bridget. Thank you so much for the work that you do and all the staff that work with everything that is CDBG. So we appreciate all that work, and we know that it's extensive. And a lot of people are involved, so thank you very much. City of Dubuque proclamation. Whereas the week of April 1st through the 5th, 2024 has been designated as National Community Development Week to celebrate the Community Development Block Grant CDBG program. And whereas the CDBG program provides annual funding and flexibility to local communities to provide decent, safe, and affordable housing, a suitable living environment, and economic opportunities to low and moderate income residents. And whereas over the past 4 years, our community has received a total of $5,771,406 in CDBG and CDBG CV funds. And whereas the following activities have been funded: first-time homebuyer program, homeowner rehabilitation program, rental unit rehabilitation, lead and healthy homes match funding, short-term rental, mortgage, and utility assistance, micro-enterprise assistance program, infrastructure improvements, neighborhood recreation programs, nonprofit support grants, homeless shelter rehabilitation, zoning enforcement, vacant building enforcement, and activities to prevent, prepare for, and respond to COVID-19. Now therefore, I, Brad M. Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council staff and residents of Dubuque, do hereby proclaim the week of April 1st through the 5th, 2024 as Community Development Week. Let's give Mary Bridget a hand.
Our third proclamation is Junior Achievement Day.
Okay, Scott Ellerbach is here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Thank you for the important work that you do. So on Thursday, we will celebrate Junior Achievement Day. Really, the point of JA Day is to celebrate all of our volunteers, our community partners, and ultimately the students that we impact through junior achievement. We teach kids about three main things. One would be financial literacy. So what does it look like to be a good financially responsible person? The other areas we teach are career and workplace readiness. We want kids to hit the workforce prepared. We want kids to enter into a career or pathway that's meaningful to them, whether that's into the trades, manufacturing, maybe they go to the military, maybe they go to 2 or 4 year school. We just want them to be prepared to own their economic success and future. And then we also teach kids about entrepreneurship. So we want them to learn about creating jobs. What does it take to run a business? What does it mean to be sound with business acumen, and so on. Last year, we impacted over 4,200 kids throughout the tri-state area. This year, we look to impact upwards of 4,500 students in grades kindergarten all the way through high school. And then moving forward will also be to enter into the 18 to 25-year-old space and provide learning experiences for that student group as well. So thanks again for the work you do. We're excited about JA Day on Thursday.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Scott, for being here to accept this, and thanks for all that great work and the great information. I didn't realize the impact was quite as large as that, so it's good information for us to have, and good reason to have a proclamation like this. The City of Dubuque Proclamation. Whereas the City of Dubuque will observe Junior Achievement Day on April 4th, 2024, as an opportunity to recognize and celebrate junior achievement of the Heartland for empowering our young people to own their economic success. And whereas Junior Achievement of the Heartland's educational contribution equips our young people to become the next generation of productive employees and self-sufficient citizens to ensure the economic prosperity of Dubuque. And whereas it is fitting for parents, educators, businesses, and other members of the community to join in Junior Achievement's effort to ensure the future success and economic health of our young people and the communities in which they live. Now, therefore, I, Brad M. Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council, staff, and residents of Dubuque, do hereby proclaim the 4th day of April, 2024 as Junior Achievement Day.
Our fourth proclamation is Saint for Life Foundation Fighting Saints Alumni Celebration.
All right. Brooks Birch and our own Susan Farber are here tonight.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and City Council, City Manager Van Milligan, City staff, and Dubuque residents. Tonight, I am joined with Brooks Birch, and on behalf of the Saint for Life Board of Directors and over 800 Fighting Saints alumni, we are honored to receive this proclamation acknowledging April 5th and 6th as the third annual Alumni Weekend celebration. Just 3 years young, the Saint for Life Foundation's goal, through its strong alumni network, is to help expand Dubuque's hockey programs for skaters of all ages and to help improve our public hockey facilities.
We are honored to share a brief reflection on the tradition of excellence held by the Fighting Saints hockey team, which began 44 years ago in 1980. As you can see, Susan is wearing the 1980 jersey, or sweater, of Brian Granger, an alumni member representing the first Clark Cup championship team coached by Jack Barzee. And I'm proudly wearing my 2010 jersey, or sweater, representing the fourth Clark Cup championship team coached by Jim Montgomery. In total, the Fighting Saints have won 5 Clark Cup championships and hopefully will earn a 6th this upcoming playoff season. The team has already earned its 14th consecutive playoff spot. The success of the Fighting Saints USHL ice hockey franchise does not just stop with Dubuque. The impact of the Saints hockey organization is far-reaching. From Olympians Greg Brown and Gary Suter to 16 current NHL players, including players of fame Zemgus Girgensons, Johnny Gaudreau, Mike Matheson, Matt Benning, Matthias Michelli, to several collegiate and professional coaches, including Jim Montgomery, current head coach of the Boston Bruins, Greg Brown, former New York Rangers assistant and current head coach at Boston College, Oliver David, head coach of EC Red Bull in Salzburg, Austria, Matt Shaw and Kerry Eads with the University of North Dakota, and Jason Lammers at Niagara University. And most notably to over 200 Fighting Saints team members who have earned Division I collegiate ice hockey scholarships.
And another positive fact, last year's game attendance totaled 70,000 fans for an impressive average of 2,300 per game. This year, at almost 2,500 fans per game, the total is guaranteed to be record-breaking. The economic impact to the city of Dubuque goes without saying. Please join us for the 3rd annual Alumni Weekend, April 5th and 6th, featuring an alumni game on Saturday, April 6th at 1 p.m. at the I'm On Arena. And that night, the East Division leading Fighting Saints will host the Chicago Steel, and the puck drops at 7. So we are very appreciative of this occasion that honors the Saint for Life Foundation and reunites Fighting Saints alumni. Thank you once again for this proclamation.
Well, and thank you both. Oh, Susan, you look like you were going back to the mic, no?
I was just going to say, go Saints.
Oh, yes, perfect. Go Saints. Excellent. Well, thank you both, Susan and Brooks. And, we appreciate so much you being here and having a proclamation like this. We do love our Fighting Saints. I mean, this city is just so proud of everything that the Saints stand for and everything the Saints do. And it is fun to watch a season like this one, but also fun to think back to the seasons from the 1980s and the jersey that Susan's wearing there today. So thank you very much for being here and having this proclamation and being here to accept it. City Dubuque Proclamation. Whereas the Saint for Life Foundation, founded in 2022, prides itself on its mission of building a vibrant alumni network, connecting former players to the Fighting Saints organization and supporting ice hockey for Dubuque skaters of all ages. And whereas the Saint for Life Foundation's 3rd annual alumni celebration will be held this weekend, April 5th through 6th, with a kickoff alumni game taking place Saturday at 1 p.m. at the I'm On Arena. Alumni tributes will continue during the Dubuque Fighting Saints versus Chicago Steel match with puck dropping at 7 p.m. And whereas the Fighting Saints alumni teams are 5-time Clark Cup champions, beginning with its first in the 1980-81 season, and whereas nationwide there are over 800 Fighting Saints alumni, underscoring the impact of Dubuque's local hockey program in the continuous athletic successes of its various players and coaches. Amongst them, there are 2 Olympians, 16 current professional NHL players, and over 12 collegiate and professional coaches, and over 200 recognized collegiate players. And whereas the Saint for Life Foundation and its alumni members focus on partnering within our community, providing strategic investments to the Fighting Saints organization and Dubuque's youth hockey development programs, including the Dubuque High School Saints, the figure skating program, and the Learn to Skate program. And whereas the occasion aspires to reunite Fighting Saints alumni and extends a warm invitation to Dubuque's ice hockey enthusiasts to partake in this weekend's special game and tributes. Now, therefore, I, Brad M. Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council staff and residents of Dubuque, do hereby proclaim the 5th through 6th of April, 2024, as Saint for Life Foundation Fighting Saints Alumni Celebration. we doing? Thanks. I definitely need to get a better Saints tie.
Our final proclamation is Dubuque YP Days of Caring.
Okay. And it looks like Christopher Lester is here to accept this proclamation for us.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm here on behalf of the Dubuque YP Days of Caring to accept this proclamation. I've never accepted a proclamation before, so.
You have anything to say about the Days of Caring?
I didn't prepare a speech, no. I'd like to keep it very brief up here. But yeah, it's this end of this month in April. The day actually escapes me, so I probably won't ever be nominated to do a proclamation again.
Corey, help us out. It's the last Friday. Actually, it's right here, is it not? It's the last Friday, I believe. April 26th, yes, of April. So, yep. Yeah. And well, thank you very much, Chris, for being here to accept this proclamation and for the work that you and everyone does to be able to bring the YP Days of Caring to Dubuque. It is such a fun day. And I know the City Council has enjoyed it in the past and people from all over the community do. So thank you very much for being here. City Dubuque Proclamation. Whereas Dubuque is a city known for its spirit of volunteerism and community pride. And whereas Young Professionals of Dubuque is an organization in Dubuque committed to making the city a wonderful place to live, work, and play. And whereas Dubuque YP Days of Caring is a community event where more than 1,100 volunteers conduct projects at nonprofits throughout the city. And whereas Dubuque YP Days of Caring benefits not only those nonprofits, but the entire city of Dubuque. Now therefore I, Brad M. Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council staff and residents of Dubuque, do hereby proclaim the 26th day of April 2024 as Dubuque YP Days of Caring.
We will move on to consent items. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting in person who would like to discuss one of the consent items, please approach the podium when the mayor asks if there is any in-person input and state your name and address. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. Please state the item you would like removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and consideration. And consent items can be found on pages 2 through 4 of the agenda.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Do we have anyone here who would like to remove any consent items for separate discussion this evening? Seeing no one here, anyone virtually?
There's not.
Okay.
No input.
All right, back to the table then.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Resnick.
I move to receive and file the documents, adopt the resolutions, and deal with the consent items as recommended.
Second by Farber.
A motion by Resnick and a second by Farber. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Jones. Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0.
Next are items set for public hearing, and we have two. First is Dubuque Racing Association lease, Dubuque Racing Association Phase 2 financing, amended leasehold mortgage for April 9th, 2024. And second is 2024 maintenance dredging project number 1, initiate public improvement bidding process for April 15th, 2024.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file, adopt the resolutions, and set the public hearings for the dates specified.
Second by Wethel.
A motion by Roussel and a second by Wethel. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0.
We'll move on to boards and commissions. We have applicant review for the Civil Service Commission. And I will just make a note, as the agenda mentions with the Civil Service Commission, just because it's a bit more unique compared to our other boards and commissions, is that Iowa Code Section 400.1 does require the mayor to select appointments to the Civil Service Commission, publication of notice of that selection, a minimum of 30 days prior to a vote by the city council. So tonight is just applicant review and the mayor formally acknowledging the selection, and vote on that appointment is scheduled to occur by the city council at the May 6th meeting.
Thank you very much, Adrian. So I'm announcing the selection of Carla Heathcote for the Civil Service Commission for a 4-year term through April 6, 2028. Do we have anyone to speak to that application? I see no one here, so, okay. And Adrian?
No input.
Nothing there, okay. So we can move on from there. When I say no one here, I mean we're fairly sparse tonight. So let's at least get a score check, please. Krenna, if you'd let us know what the score is of the game.
It's 34-30 LSU with 7 minutes and 10 seconds left in the second quarter.
All right, well, that one turned on us. Well, moving on then to public hearings.
At this time, anyone participating in the meeting in person who would like to discuss one of the public hearing items, please approach the podium when the mayor asks if there's any in-person input for the public hearing you would like to speak to, and state your name and address. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function and state your question or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input for the public hearing you would like to speak to. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. Public hearing number 1 is hold public hearing and approve the revised administrative plan for the Housing Choice Voucher Program.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move to receive and file the documents and adopt the resolution.
Second by Sprank.
Motion by Jones and a second by Sprank. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. Housing and Community Development Director Alexis Stager is recommending City Council hold a public hearing and then adopt the revised administrative plan for the Housing Choice Voucher Program and grant the Housing and Community Development Director permission to submit the revised Public Housing Authority Administrative Plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, as required for final approval and adoption. The Housing and Community Development Department has conducted a full review of the entire Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. The Housing and Community Development Department has revised all 19 chapters in order to adapt to modern practices, HUD guidance, and create program efficiency. Changes to the administrative plan were presented to and approved by the Housing Commission on January 23, 2024. The draft administrative plan was then presented to the Resident Advisory Board on February 28, 2024. The Resident Advisory Board had no additional comments or revision recommendations. The draft administrative plan has been posted on the city's website and available at the Housing and Community Development Department for review since the February 5th, 2024 City Council meeting, wherein the administrative plan was set for public hearing on April 1st. The draft administrative plan will go before the Housing Commission at that time for official approval before being submitted to HUD for final approval and adoption. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. We are in a public hearing to consider City Council hold a public hearing and then adopt the revised administrative plan for the Housing Choice Voucher Program and grant the Housing and Community Development Director permission to submit the revised Public Housing Authority administrative plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development as required for final approval and adoption. I see no one here for any public input. Do we have any virtual public input?
No.
Okay.
No input received.
All right. And back to the table, and I'll just begin by saying I appreciate all the work that goes into this from both the Housing and Community Development staff and the Housing Commission. It is a pretty extensive discussion and a great review, so appreciate that process. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none. Motion here is to receive and file, adopt the resolution. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber. Kavanaugh.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 2 is submission of annual Public Housing Agency Plan, Federal Fiscal Year 2024, PHA Fiscal Year 2025 Annual Plan.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Russell.
I move to receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second by Wethel.
Got a motion by Russell and a second by Wethel. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. Each year, the City of Dubuque is required to submit a PHA, Public Housing Agency Plan. The PHA Plan is a comprehensive guide to the policies, programs, operations, and strategies for meeting local housing needs and goals. There are 2 parts to the PHA Plan: the 5-year plan, which is submitted fiscal year 2020, and the annual plan, which is submitted this year. Part of the submission includes a certification by state or local office of PHA consistency with the consolidated plan. Housing and Community Development Director Alexis Stager is recommending City Council approval to submit the federal fiscal year 2024 annual PHA plan along with a certification of consistency with the consolidated plan. To ensure public participation in the process, PHA plans must be available for inspection by the public both during the public review period prior to the board hearing and submission to HUD. Public notice was published 45 days in advance of the public hearing on April 1st, 2024. The Housing Commission voted to approve the PHA plan on Monday, February 5th. The PHA Resident Advisory Board also reviewed the PHA plan on February 28th, and all comments and minutes from their meeting is included in the plan. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. We are in a public hearing to consider City Council approval to submit the federal fiscal year 2024 annual PHA plan along with the certification of consistency, or for consistency with the consolidated plan. Do we have any public input? I see no one here still. Any virtual? Thank you.
No input.
No other input from the city clerk's office. Any discussion or questions? Other than to repeat what I said before about the other plan, really appreciate the work from the staff and the commissions on this as well. This is another heavy lift, so appreciate everything they do. Okay. Seeing no discussion or questions, we have a motion here to receive and file, adopt the resolution. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel. Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 3 is resolution approving a development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque and CBDC LLC.
Mr. Mayor,
Jones.
I move to receive and file the documents and adopt the resolution.
Second by Farber.
Motion by Jones and a second by Farber. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. Economic Development Director Jill Connors is recommending City Council adopt the attached resolution approving a proposed development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque and CBDC LLC for the development of a child care facility at 781 Locust Street. CNB is now one of the top employers in Dubuque and desires to continue to grow in the community where it was originally established. In order to facilitate additional growth in Dubuque, CNB intends to once again invest over $12 million, this time to create a child care facility. This project is furthered by a $3 million State of Iowa grant for the creation of child care centers. In order to incentivize CNB's continued downtown investment, city staff have negotiated a development agreement with CBDC LLC. The agreement proposes the following. CBDC will make a collective capital investment in building improvements of at least $12 million by July 1st, 2025 for the creation of a child care facility. The city will provide tax increment rebates to CBDC for a total of 20 semi-annual payments. Tax increment financing incentives are not estimated to exceed $2,525,000. The city will modify on-street parking restrictions adjacent to the facility during certain hours of operation to accommodate pickup and drop-off of children. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. We are in a public hearing to consider City Council adopt the attached resolution approving a proposed development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque and CBDC LLC for the development of a child care facility at 781 Locust Street. Do we have anyone to provide public input on this? I see no one here. Anyone virtually?
No.
Thank you.
No input.
Nothing from the city clerk's office. Back to the table then for any discussion or questions. Yeah, Ms. Wethel.
I'll just say, we've had some great news from employers stepping up in our community, not only sponsoring the Bright Minds campus, but gosh, now CNB, Cottingham and Butler, just really knocking it out of the park with this beautiful proposed daycare, and just so grateful for what they're doing for our community.
Thank you, Ms. Wethel. Yeah, I would definitely say ditto to that. It's great to see things moving down there at the site, and I'm very happy to enter into this agreement with Cottingham and Butler in this new venture. Okay. Well, seeing no other discussion, we have a motion to receive and file and adopt this resolution. So, Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0.
Next is public input. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting may address the City Council on the action items on the agenda or on matters under the control of the City Council. For all in-person attendees, please approach the podium and state your name and address when the mayor asks if there is any in-person input. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. Individual remarks are limited to 5 minutes, and the overall public input period is limited to 30 minutes. Under the Iowa Open Meetings Law, the City Council can take no formal action on comments given during public input or that do not relate to the action items on the agenda.
All right. Thank you, Adrian. I still don't see anybody for public input tonight. There must be something else going on. Anybody virtually?
No?
Okay,
And no input received.
all right, okay. Well, then we will move on.
We'll move on to action items. Our sole action item tonight is Canadian Pacific Kansas City Limited Railroad request to close 15th Street Railroad crossing.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
move to receive and file the documents and schedule a discussion and decision for the June 3rd, 2024 City Council meeting.
Second by Sprank.
Got a motion by Jones and a second by Sprank. Mike, please.
Thank you. City Manager Mike Van Milligan. I do have to tell you, I took a lot of heat from Adrian and Krenna and Stephanie Valentine when I came up with an action item for tonight.
Well, Mike, we appreciate your work ethic. We really do.
The City of Dubuque is examining the feasibility of creating a railroad quiet zone in Dubuque. A quiet zone is where the trains are not required to blow their horns as they approach individual railroad crossings because the crossings have been upgraded with adequate warnings and barriers that motorists and pedestrians were adequately protected from attempting to cross the railroad tracks and therefore do not need the added warning of a train horn. Closing a railroad crossing has a similar effect as investing in crossing improvements in that the trains do not need to blow their horns at a closed crossing. The city has received a request from the Canadian Pacific Kansas City Limited Railroad to close the 15th Street Railroad crossing. As part of the railroad's efforts to reduce delays at railroad crossings, they will be implementing expensive technology improvements at each of the railroad crossings later this year. Therefore, they are asking the city to decide quickly so they can avoid making these technology improvements at the 15th Street crossing. There is a crossing 1 block to the north of 16th Street and 1 block to the south at 14th Street. Just north of 16th Street, there is a pedestrian bike underpass. The city has plans to do major improvements to the 14th Street crossing with construction of a vehicle, pedestrian bike overpass. This is contingent on receiving a $25 million federal grant. Regardless when this overpass is built, it is difficult to justify the continued existence of the 15th Street crossing. The railroad is offering to pay the cost of the closing of the 15th Street crossing and to provide $100,000 to the city to help defray costs at other crossings. To implement the quiet zone, the railroad will also support a grant application to the Iowa Department of Transportation. It is the belief of the railroad that closing the 15th Street crossing might reflect positively on the city's raise grant application to build the 14th Street overpass. I believe that in furtherance of the city's efforts to create a quiet zone and end the burden of downtown residents, downtown businesses, and guests at places like hotels who experience all of the train horn noise 24 hours a day, it is appropriate to close the 15th Street crossing. I respectfully recommend that the mayor and city council schedule this question to be placed on the June 3rd, 2024 city council meeting to make a decision on closing the 15th Street Railroad crossing. In the interim, city staff will count the number of vehicles using this crossing and visit with the nearby property owners to hear their opinions.
Thank you, Mike. So just to make it really clear, the real discussion before us tonight is just whether or not we want to put this on the agenda on June 3rd. Is that correct?
Correct. So do you want us to do the research
Right.
to bring it back on June 3rd?
Right. So we can discuss the merits of doing so once we get the data back from you if we decide to do that. I mean, that would be more of a discussion for the June 3rd night. But we could, I mean, whatever we want to talk about here, we can, but I'm just saying that the decision before us is actually scheduling it for June 3rd.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
So any discussion or questions on that? Mr. Spring?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so much of this I like, and I specifically like those last portion where we're gonna talk to the homeowners, and nearly 2.5 months, we're gonna count the number of vehicles to know like how many this will actually affect. Because I myself, I like the first part of this, where we're getting funding to help us make our other railroad crossings possibly a quiet zone. I know myself and many of my neighbors hear the trains every once in a while because they just blare their horns and that's what they do. Can't control them. So I really like the fact though that we're going to be talking to who this is going to affect. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spring. Yeah, Mr. Resnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And my concern would be timing. It's not a concern, but just a curiosity in how it would connect with hopefully with the overpass. And whatever would be least disruptive is what I would be in favor of. So when we talk about it, I may mention that again. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Ms. Wethel.
I do think the icing on the cake is that if this could at all favorably enhance our chance at our raise grant, I think it's a win there. It is as if the universe made it so that I heard more horns this weekend. I'm not really sure if it's real or if I just paid more attention to it. Also, kind of just in going down in that area recently, I kind of watched, it's not a traffic count, but just looking at the activity of the neighborhood. Where do people drive? And I am hopeful that my sense is that this is a great move for the neighborhood and that our traffic counts will confirm that. And I will be interested to know what neighbors think. That's an important piece of this, of course. So look forward to it.
Yeah, for my part, I definitely approve of putting it on the agenda and moving it forward with the more of a study and then potentially some action towards it. I think it potentially could make good sense, but it'd be great to learn more. So I look forward to hearing more about this on June 3rd. Okay. Well, motion here is to receive and file and bring this back to the council on June 3rd, 2024. So Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0.
Next are council member reports.
All right. Anybody manage to have any reports since we've been hanging out with each other for like the last week?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Ms. Farber.
I have to give NAMI a shout out. They just recently celebrated their first year anniversary at their new location at 6th and Locust, and it was just a wonderful reception, and they had hundreds of people. And the facility is quite spacious and quite specific in what the rooms offer for all ages. It was just really just a real nice staff, and the staff is very cohesive. They have a lot of fun working together, and they all have purpose and guidance for others, and it's very family focused. So it was just a pleasure to be there. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Ms. Farber. Yeah, Mr. Resnick.
Thank you. So today, April 1st, April Fool's Day, my wife came home and said that she was looking at the back of a City of Dubuque bus and it said, sign the petition at tiltthetower.com. Pisa has a leaning tower, Dubuque can too. And she thought either that was an April Fool's joke or the dumbest idea anyone's ever had. And I said, well, that's not really a serious thing. It might be. So we looked up tiltthetower.com, and when you go to tiltthetower.com, it's McCullough Creative that says, hey, we got your attention by advertising on the bus. And so it was a nice timing seeing this on April 1st. And I guess they have a couple other things, Billy's Rent a Goat and the Blue Lobster instead of everybody's. The one thing that would make Dubuque the perfect city is a Red Lobster. Of course, we've heard that. But so they've got the Blue Lobster. But whoever thought of the Tilt the Tower, I thought that was particularly clever. So just wanted to let people know. And we are in cahoots, I guess, with this whole situation at the City of Dubuque. And because when we get advertising on our bus, we get some money for that. So. I support our bus advertising as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Resnick. Yeah, Ms. Wethel.
I had the privilege of joining the Travel Dubuque Outreach Committee, and we had a meeting last week, and it was at Convivium Urban Farmstead. Had a really great update from Travel Dubuque, and Leslie Shahabi from Convivium presented, and she told the story of a woman who came to Convivium from a Viking cruise, was touring Convivium, and recently bought a house down the street from Convivium. She's from the East Coast. She loved Dubuque. So I think as we think about travel and tourism and the movement to get people into those places of vibrancy in our town, what a great example. So I wanted to share that.
That's a great story.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
I would have a follow-up on that if you don't mind. So the Chamber of Commerce last year sponsored the Iowa Economic Development Authority Travel Division to come and do a presentation here in Dubuque. And in their presentation, they said that nationally that 60% of the people make their decision on where they're going to move to based on where they traveled to for vacations.
Well, these are some excellent reports. Our April Fool's joke is that we have a closed session after this. So I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move that the city council go into closed session in accordance with chapter 21.5 of the Code of Iowa to discuss pending litigation and purchase or sale of real estate.
Motion by Jones, second by Farber. For the record, the attorney the city council will consult with on the issues to be discussed in closed session is City Attorney Krenna Brumwell. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Resnick.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprague.
Aye.
Farber. Kavanaugh.
Aye. That motion passes 7-0. We are in closed session.
No April Fools, it's 45:45 at halftime.
Oh, jeez.
And go Hawks. Have a good night, everybody.